Welcome back to another episode of TVGP's Critical Misses, the show where we're catching up on all the media hits we missed. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Moonpeer.
Howdy. I feel like there is not one singular episode that remits the purpose of this show better than this episode right here.
Yeah, you could be you'd be forgiven if you maybe didn't watch Repo the Genetic Opera before we talked about it on the show. That's understandable. But arguably one of the most famous and popular music of I'm so choked up thinking about
Yes.
this movie. We're gonna watch
It's all
The Sound
that
of
fresh
Music.
air.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're gonna watch 1965's The Sound of Music. So, I have seen this. I don't know how many times, probably at least 20, and Moon has not seen it so far.
Not once. Notice
Yeah,
this isn't even one of those movies that I've seen clips of on YouTube but not seen. Like this isn't one of those.
that is shocking.
Um,
That is so surprising in so many ways, because I feel like this is one of those movies that you've at least seen like some of the big songs.
Oh, I know one of the songs.
Okay.
Maybe two. It's the title song. It's The Hills Are
Yeah.
Alive with the Sound of Music. But I get that. I've heard that plenty of times because it's a joke frequently.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most parodied ones, yeah.
Out of curiosity, is this the biggest miss so far in the history of this show? Maybe Aliens?
I feel like it's probably bigger than Alien and Aliens because this is so much more all ages. You know, you usually catch it at some point, even accidentally growing up, and for this to be a blind spot is really it's a real treat.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I don't even know like how I missed it.
So here's a question for you before we get into what you know about this movie. Have you seen Sister Act?
Yes.
The Whoopi Goldberg is a nun.
I've seen Sister Act.
Okay.
I've not.
Perfect.
I think I may have seen the best named sequel ever, which is Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit, which is
That's so good. Yeah.
one of the best sequel names that you'll get.
It really is. So what do you know about The Sound of Music through osmosis here?
Was that? I'm assuming Sister Act must have something to do with it too, then, because
We'll talk about it in the
referenced
second. We'll talk about it in the second part. Yeah.
Okay, is Sister Act like a send up of this, like same way 10 Things I Hate About You is Taming of the Shrew, kind of thing?
No, not really. But we'll see if you put the pieces together. I didn't until I watched Sister Act like a year ago, I think.
Oh, well, it's been about 15 years since I've seen Sister Act, so we'll see if I can put that together.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's the obvious one, the one we've hinted and alluded around. Nazis.
Yes.
Nazis.
Yes.
Which means this probably takes place in World War II.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit pre-war.
Okay. I also know that it takes place in Switzerland, hence the Alps in the poster.
Correct.
Which I also was aware of.
Those hills are alive, yeah.
Yes, with the sound of tanks rolling through Switzerland to go and destroy other countries.
That's right.
Do
you know any other songs?
No, because Spoonful of Sugar is Mary Poppins.
Correct.
I know that much.
You don't even.
Which is why I'm curious. Is this a nanny situation again? Like, is this that kind of thing, or a wife situation?
Kind of, sort of. It will. The intro will kind of illuminate that it is and isn't. In kind of a weird. There's a specific term for it that I will never remember.
Is it au pair? Is that what you're thinking
No, it's
of?
not an au pair. It's something more secular.
Okay.
So,
hence the religion aspect of Sister Act.
Yes.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Is this a convent? Is this literally like a convent situation?
It opens up in one, but it's very short. It's not a.
Okay.
It's not a convent.
Because is this the one that has a baron in it, and the baron is the Nazi guy? Maybe, I don't know.
I'm not gonna show the whole hand for the movie, but the owner of the house is definitely not a Nazi.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that okay.
Yeah. So I think
is it the love interest? Because that would be hilarious.
that'd be really great. I have a secret to tell you. Um, it's baffling to me that having grown up with this movie that you don't even know like "Doe, a deer, a female deer," that song.
Okay, I know that. I just didn't know
Okay.
it was from this.
Yeah. I'm wondering how many other songs you're gonna be like, oh right, okay, oh that's
Ray, a
from
drop
this.
of gold, the
That's right.
sun. Um, no, because you got to keep in mind that like I always get so many of the musicals of this time frame mixed up. So like the What a Picture song, What a Picture, bum ba bum 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 bum
Mm-hmm.
bum, Stick It in a Family album. I always think that's from Mary Poppins. It's not. That's from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which I can't
Right,
remember if I've seen.
right.
And I always think the Do Re Mi song. I always think that's from Mary Poppins, but it's
Right.
not. It's from this.
Well,
It's
you also have like West Side Story was huge at the time. Sound of Music was huge. Like there,
yeah,
so many movies all at the same. King and I, like that whole kind of
Singing in the
era.
Rain.
Yep. Yeah.
Like there was a lot in there, and it's like with all of the bad English Australian accents mixed in, you know, you're
That's
never
right.
quite sure where they all sit, kind of thing.
Right. Also, to
Australian
answer your
chili
question,
cheese for the win.
I don't think anybody has seen Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, so don't worry about it. I think we know like one or two songs from it.
Yeah, there's a kid catcher in it, and
Yep.
it's a car and a bed. What's the one with the flying bed? Is that Mary
Bed
Poppins?
Knobs
I
and
don't even know.
Broomsticks.
Okay,
That's the
there's another
one.
one that I
That's the one
may
I
or may
grew up
not have
on.
seen.
Yep. That's an exceptionally weird movie.
Is that the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory of its time?
Oh yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah, honestly, I think we've literally covered everything that I know. I don't know old actors' names, so I don't know anybody who might be in this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I
Do you know
wouldn't
who
be able.
the lead actress is?
No,
Okay.
no idea.
Okay.
And honestly, she could show. She's probably the one on the poster, and guess what? I still don't
Correct.
recognize her.
Yeah.
Um,
It's one of
I
those
wouldn't
ones
be
where
able to
it's
put
like
a name to that face, if that makes sense.
right. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those ones where she's been in like everything. I don't remember if this was her breakout role. I think it might have been, because she's awfully young in this. But she's one of those ones that shows up when you need, like a kind of a studious,
Blonde-haired, blue-eyed powerhouse.
no, like a prim and proper kind of.
Is she Mary Poppins as well, by any chance?
No, who even was Mary Poppins? I'm gonna look it up because I'm not even entirely sure. 1964, goodness. No, yeah, it was her. Okay, I was wrong.
You literally said prim and proper and studious, and the first thing that popped into my head was Mary Poppins. So
Yep.
there you go.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay. Yeah. I think the thing that a lot of us will know her from is
The Sound of Music.
the Princess Diaries. Came out in the early 2000s.
Oh, is she Anne Hathaway's mother?
Yeah. Yep.
Guess what? I still haven't seen that movie.
Okay. Both of them are pretty good. Yeah.
All right, that's why I hear.
Yeah.
Still sucks we didn't get Anne Hathaway in Phantom of the Opera the movie because of the Princess Diaries.
Yeah, man, that would have been pretty good. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right. Yeah. Anything else that you're thinking before you're going into this one?
Is this one of those movies that has a famously bad quote unquote ending where it's not a happy ending movie? Like at the end of the movie, does it pan the camera and there's the Nazi tanks rolling across the countryside kind of situation?
I mean, the last third isn't great, but I never remember the ending of this movie because once the singing stops at a certain point, child me was just like, whatever, I'm out. All the singing's over. Let's go. Just some.
Like, yeah, I know the one I haven't seen, which is It's a Wonderful Life, I believe, which I'm told also has a horrifically sad ending.
I mean, the whole thing is just a bummer. I really don't like that movie.
Yeah, I'd not seen it, so
yeah,
just as a heads up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm curious if it's one of those things where, like, because of the time frame of it, I mean, it was what, 60s was this?
65, yeah.
I can't help but think, yeah, let's set it just before the war and then have it end with, like, I don't know, artillery getting dropped on the house or something.
Right, right. Yeah,
It's the true origin story of the Scarlet Witch, is it
right.
wasn't Tony Stark, it was
That's
the
right.
Nazis.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious to watch this. Uh, as I've gotten older, I've seen clips of this, and I think we tried to have my kid watch it, and she got pretty bored with it because it's from the '60s. It's not like musicals for kids nowadays, where it's moving at a 60 miles an hour the entire 90 minutes. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that I don't think I have seen it since, and I
Is this
certainly
90 minutes, or is this one of those 2.5 hour
it was
slugs?
174 minutes.
Okay, it's a slug.
Yeah,
Great.
it certainly feels pretty long. Not in a
You
bad way,
literally
but
just said that the singing stops at some point, which is like
but
counterintuitive
I,
to musicals.
I think that's what I remember. But I think once you get to a certain point in the movie, it was sort of like the banners unfurl, and I'm like, this, I'm out of here. This is there's too much. This is
The
too sad.
literal banners, are they red banners with a white circle and a black cross-looking shape in the middle of them?
They might be, if I remember correctly. But like, I haven't seen the end of this movie for like probably 20 years or so. So I'm pretty excited to see how this thing truly does end and see the credits of this thing for the first time in decades, if not my entire life. Um,
hmm
so
I'm
I'm excited.
I'm curious if, like, because like literally the three words that I associate with this movie are Switzerland, Nazis, and Alps. Like,
Right.
like that describe a movie in three words. It's really hard to come up with a positive experience from those three
It's
words,
true. That's true. Yeah.
especially if you know about Switzerland's whole neutrality agreement with everything. Like,
Right. Right.
that's kind of rough.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that historical note, let's go watch the film.
Yup.
Your podcatcher is alive with the sound of two white guys with beards. It's a podcast. Hello, welcome
Yes,
back. We've
we're
watched the
using
movie.
the definition of a
That's right.
podcast, which is more than one white guy talking into a microphone.
That's right. The Merriam-Webster definition here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we watched Sound of Music, all 15 and a quarter hours of this musical.
So, I I watched these things in one sitting, generally speaking.
Yeah, ditto.
Um, I didn't with this.
I've never been happier to see an intermission. I'm like, oh, okay, good. All right,
Dude, I
this
didn't
is a good
even make
break.
it to the intermission. I
Okay,
was like, okay, I'll watch it an hour and a half. I'm out for tonight. Like,
yeah,
I'm tired, exhausted. I need to lay down. I'm done. Um, and then woke up this morning to watch the next half of it, and then 10 minutes later it was like intermission. I was like, "Are you serious right now?"
son of a.
Like, it was right there waiting for me the whole time.
Yeah, it's probably one of the longest movies that really cooks the entire time. Like there's it is
Yeah,
either going at 60 miles an hour or 2. Like there's
yes,
there's kind of no in between for this movie.
Fast
Um
and Semi Furious.
that's right. That's right. Um I I I totally forgot how this movie opened with normally movies of this era would usually start with the orchestra swelling, they play the overture, and there's like the title cards and there's all the cast and everything. This one's just like, no man, we got a helicopter. It's like, okay,
Yes,
all right.
they
You
do,
flex that helicopter money. All right. Um,
and they start with the title card.
right. And they start with like the Mission Impossible 2 intro of just like, we're flying through
hmm
somewhere really quietly. No big
Was that
deal.
two or was that all of them?
I mean, two is the most famous one for this show, I think, because of the lyrical content of that song being bonkers.
I totally forgot about that.
Uh-huh.
My grandma and your grandma
That's right. That's right.
sitting by the fire.
Yep. Um, and yeah, they just start off with The Sound of
The
Music.
Sound of Music.
Yeah. Those hills, they be alive.
They are. I do like the. It's a decent enough sequence. Everybody knows this song. Whatever.
Yeah.
Would it be helpful if I was not in my Wayward Sons notes, but rather in my actual show notes for this one? Tells you where I've been.
Too many shows.
Yeah. Yes. I was like everybody knows the song. Whatever. It's a decent song.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's not the standout for this, which, okay.
Right.
Yeah, we'll get into. Oh, holy crap, that song's in this. Oh, that song too. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So the church bells ring. She runs back and gets her habit because she's the nun. And I was like, oh, Boston, you big spoiler, you.
It's a really good.
Reveal?
I like it's a really good reveal of just like, yeah, she's like frolicking in the. Oh, she heard the bell. Yeah, maybe she has to go to. Oh, she has the habit. Okay. Yeah, sure.
And then they start with the opening credits, and if you're making a musical and you have the credits at the opening, please do what this does and have the orchestrated melody or medley.
Yeah, they have this is where the overture comes in and kind of the opening medley, and I'm always a sucker for that. Like it's really effective.
They do like all of the future songs. It's like this piece is important. You don't know why, but you'll find out later on why this little piece of music is important.
Give you a sneak peek at all the bangers coming at you.
Exactly, which is why my notes say, oh, well, there's The Sound of Music, there's the Doa Dia. Is that my favorite things, or whatever it's called, that song?
Yep.
And I don't know about the fourth one, which I think was the Lonely Goat Herd song.
Oh, the Goat Herd,
it may be an Edelweiss, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, oh, okay. There's some songs that I knew that I didn't know that were in this. Yes. Instantly.
And I like that they introduce the character of Maria through everybody else. Like the movie could show you that she's a free spirit and she's kind of hard to pin down, but having all of the other nuns sing about how she's kind of flighty, a flibberty-gibbet, a will-o'-the-wisp, like having...
clown.
Like having all of them sort of be like, I mean, she's like faithful and stuff, but here's all these problems we have with her, and she's okay, but it's that whole thing.
And I like the double meaning of this song because it's played twice. Well, it's probably played like 5 times, where it's played mainly twice.
Right.
Once here when you're trying to solve the problem of Maria. And once later, when Maria has solved the problems like she would.
Right.
It's a nice flip on the song to have the same words, the same lyrics, the same everything, and it still has the double meaning of she's the problem. No, she solved the problem. Like it's really
she solved it in her own way. Yeah. Well, and it's a great way of showing you too. It's like, we need to get her out of here. Like she's driving us all crazy. She can't even make it for prayer time. Let's go solve our own Maria problem by sending her off to his family with 7 children and a Navy captain. So
who've had like 6 governesses in like as many months apparently. Like
they're just like
2 hours
burning through them. Yeah. So they pretty quickly send her off to the Von Trapp. Let's call it an estate. They have lands. They have a large manse.
Landed gentry, we'll say.
Right. And we get introduced to Captain Von Trapp and all of the kids.
Up.
Yeah.
Can't skip confidence in me.
Okay, that's the song I always forget about, because it's like it's in between. Here's the intro to her, and then we're in the family dynamics, and I
Yes.
always forget about that, like maybe 5 minute period between.
And at this point, my notes was like, so this is like Mary Poppins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except maybe with a romantic interest instead of Mary Poppins being a witch. I was like, okay, cool,
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, that's not a bad song. I always think that it's funny. They probably wouldn't have shot them. She's running through that town square, and
Hmm.
it's funny that it is just empty. I feel like in modern films that would have been packed with hundreds of people, but it's like, we got like three cars and
So
we
no, no,
closed it.
no. So not only would it have been packed with hundreds of people, dude,
Mm,
but also the hundreds of people would have joined in on the dancing too.
100%. It would have been a flash mob. It would have been like, I have confidence in her.
It would have
It's just
been the start of La La Land.
right. Yeah. Yeah. That's an okay song. I think that not one of
Hmm.
the standouts for me. But
That song was the song where I actually realized, holy crap, Julie Andrews has got some moves.
yeah, like you can see. I think with kind of the one-two punch of this and Mary Poppins, I think you can
Uh-huh.
really easily see like, oh, she's the real deal.
Yeah, like the dance move she pulls off in Confidence in Me is just insanely good. Like the
Hmm.
movement, the rhythm, everything about it is just so good. Like it's nothing but mad props for it.
Yeah,
And
and then it very naturally leads into the next scene with her getting introduced to the family and the whistle and the marching and that whole thing. And after
uh-huh.
he does all the introductions, she's just like, "No, I'm not. What are you doing? I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna whistle at you. Like, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
whistle at these
she
kids."
whistles at him and is like, I don't know what your sound is.
It's also such a good intro to Christopher Plummer, who has been in like 4,000 movies
Uh,
by this point. But just that look he gives her when she whistles at him is just like, you dare? How? What is wrong with you?
Uh-huh.
That's so good. Um, and this is the weird part of the movie is that there's kind of a lot that goes on here as she gets introduced to everybody, but there's kind of like not a lot going on at the same time. We get hang on, what's our next big song here? We have 16 going on 17. So probably one of my favorite
Yeah.
dance portions here between Rolf and Lazel.
Uh-huh.
Um,
And let me tell you, I got bad vibes from Rolf from the get-go. Like
oh,
that
for sure.
that is not a good like in through the vision of 2023. That is a horrifically bad
In
song.
2023, Rolf is just being like, "Oh, so you don't want an alpha male taking care of you?" And you're like, "Ooh,
Yes,
oh boy."
he is a
So
100% that.
when he storms in halfway through the movie and does this salute, you're like, "Yeah, that checks out."
Uh-huh.
That's not too surprising, but I think the song is pretty solid, and I kind of like this. He's delivering messages to their house, and they've kind of fallen in love in these short little bursts. But I actually really like when they kind of finish this song and there's just the orchestral piece at the end. I really like that little dance they do throughout the gazebo where they're kind of up and
Yes.
down on the. I've always liked that, and I don't even know why. It's not even like super duper impressive, but I think
No,
it's a fun piece.
it's a very expressive dance piece for like essentially the smallest space possible to pull that off in.
Right.
Like it is a really confined space,
Yeah.
like especially for dancing, and what they do with it is actually pretty solid.
Yeah.
I mean, screw Rolf though.
Oh yeah, I mean Rolf is he's so bad. So bad. Um
That's another
and
song I knew, by the way.
oh, you knew that one? Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then we kind of get the second half of that, which is my favorite things, where she's helping the kids with the really big thunderstorm that's going on.
Yes, and we've missed like several of the it's not- like several of the little I wrote down here Frog Pocket earlier, but I think the best one I'm going to describe here is they have Germans in the back pocket is getting mentioned a lot throughout this movie because like
Hmm.
Rolf spills the beans that there's a general like 2 doors down from Germany,
Right.
and they're talking about the Baroness and all and the Arschelwag or whatever it's called, when Germany basically annexed Austria.
Yeah, like
Which
everybody's like, "Hey man, it's coming." Like
yes.
what you need to figure out what you're going to do. Which side are you going to be on?
Hmm. See, here's a fun fact for you folks. I'm British, English technically speaking, but British.
Hmm.
Um, I am a very fond habit of saying screw patriotism,
Sure.
like be that English or American patriotism. Like I don't care about your flag. I don't care about my queen.
Any
I don't
level of like
care.
fervent patriotism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything where it's like, this is my country, so on and so forth. All that can go screw itself because it's just inhumane on so many levels in most cases when it's used.
Mm.
This is an acceptable use of patriotism. The captain
Oh, with
is
Von Trapp.
Austrian.
Right.
Yeah, he's Austrian. He's not German, and he will remain Austrian
Right.
because there is a different, like, person trying to forcibly remove your country from the map.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, get out of here. Like, that is just.
It's also nice to see him so strongly, pretty much immediately saying like, "No, that's bad. Like
Mhm.
that's not going to be a thing that I'm going to be a part of." There's no waffling. Like it's his friend Max.
Max.
Yeah, Max is always the one to be like, "Why you gotta bring politics? It's just video games, man. Why you gotta bring politics
Uh-huh.
into it?" It's just like, and I like that. Captain Von Trapp is like, "Shut up. What's wrong
Hmm.
with you?" Um,
So far we've got the Alpha Bro in Ruffle,
uh
um,
huh.
or whatever his name is. I don't even
Rolf.
Rolf.
Yeah,
Ruffle. How
Rolf.
very internet of me.
Rolfcopter
Um,
over there.
yes. We've got the keep your politics out of my insert whatever the latest
That's
craze
right.
is here.
That's right. It's about journalism in Austria. What's wrong with you, Captain? Not a big
Hmm.
deal.
And hey, he's using it appropriately as well because from all of the impressions you get of him, he is a hell of a grifter, which is
Yes,
exactly what the grifters do. Keep your politics out my education. My
that's right.
education don't need no politics. That's that.
Yes. Um, we get my favorite things here, which is probably one of the most famous songs in here, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is a pretty solid song. I like the tonal shift of this song because
Mm.
it's when it gets to the chorus of when the dog bites and the bee stings, it
Hmm.
takes a sharp like note like step down in notes
Hmm.
and then slowly works its way back up as the lyrics do their thing to make
Right.
you feel better. It's really well put together song.
Yeah.
I do like the kids, by the way. Like we haven't really talked about them, but all of the kids in this are pretty solid all around.
Hmm.
Um, you can tell the youngest girl occasionally is struggling with her choreography, but that's absolutely fine because it's cute as hell when she's doing it.
Yeah, it feels very appropriate for that character. It's just like, look, she's cute. Just turn her loose on film and just see what happens.
Yeah, because there's parts when she's supposed to be singing and dancing, and you can very clearly see that she's trying to remember the dancing part and forgetting the singing part.
The wheels are turning and like not catching.
It's
Yeah.
it's solid, but like all
Yeah.
the kids are pretty great. I mean, I think probably there's only really two you get to meet, and it's the you or two that really stand out, I would say, and it's the youngest
Hmm.
and the oldest.
Right. The oldest who I
Um,
looked, and I thought I had recognized her from stuff. The only movie she's been in ever.
seriously,
It's wild. She was in like one
she's
other super small role,
incredible.
but yeah, she was great in this. Like it's one of those movies where it's like, oh please, she's had 40 years of movies. It's like, nope,
Uh-huh.
it's just in this
Yeah.
one. It's like, man, oh bummer.
It's also worth mentioning, what's his face, like the Captain Von Trapp is a ridiculously handsome gentleman for the
Oh
time.
man, Yeah, like
Like,
killing it. He's
uh-huh.
not only is a handsome, does an incredible job. Not his voice, which I found out in some research for this movie, but uh, just like has that, and he I think he balances being the captain at the beginning, and I feel like he earns the softness later in the movie pretty well, which I think is kind of a delicate balancing act to accomplish.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Um, the she makes the new play clothes for the children with the drapes, which I think is actually a really great shot of her just like stroking her beard in front of the drapes, and you're like, and then the next shot is them busting out of the gate in these like the
In the
drape
curtains,
outfits.
yeah.
It's like, all right, I that's a pretty good piece of editing there. Like it could have shown a montage of her making them, and just like, you know what she's gonna do. Here you go. Now they got play clothes. And this is, I think this is the part where she takes them into the mountains and is like, let's practice singing. And the kids are like, we don't know how. We don't know how to be kids. We just know how to
Yeah.
be uh, Navy
When we
soldiers.
get Yes, which is when we get probably the most famous song, one might say.
Right. The doe a deer, female deer song, which is
Ray, a tropical. Oh.
right.
It is a song everybody knows it. Like, you might not know The Sound of Music. You might not
Right.
know Favorite Things, Wonderful Things, whatever it is. You might not know Edelweiss. Sure as hell didn't know Edelweiss.
Mm.
I 100% knew Doadia.
Yep. And I don't think I remembered how many times they went back to this song specifically throughout the film.
Yes, I also didn't know how complicated it got. Like,
Yeah, because later
everyone knows the
there's
chorus,
right.
the first two essentially loops of the song, but then
Mm-hmm.
it gets real complicated real quickly.
Yeah, and they're almost like singing it in a round in one
Uh-huh.
scene. It's pretty wild stuff.
Yes. It's also like I like the perform. This is one of the things I like about like the performances in this. I think it's this song. I think. Yes, I think it's this song where all of the kids are like around and they slowly join in one by one, and then
Yeah.
they start doing the bouncing, and like the choreography and everything in this is like to a T, really,
Mm-hmm.
really, really well done. Like, it's
Yeah, especially for this many
unbelievable how
people.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, this many people and a bunch of them are kids. Like, come
Mm-hmm.
on. I mean, obviously they probably weren't as young as they are playing because that is the rule.
Right.
Um, so whatever. But some of that stuff is complicated.
Yeah.
Like,
And we
it's
get during this scene, the captain is away in Vienna and on business, wink. And they after the Do Re Mi song, Captain is coming back with Baroness Schrader,
Baroness,
who is
who
his
got
kind
name
of
dropped earlier.
yeah,
Also,
that's true.
I'm sorry, but if you go by your title as your nom de plume, as your preferred like thing, like if I was Baron Paul and I
Right,
just made
right,
people refer to me as the Baron,
right.
I would be evil. You're evil if you do that.
That's right. That's right. It's not a normal thing nowadays of like, oh please call me the Baron. It's like, ew,
Yeah.
okay.
Like, why do you think I hate the royal family? Because
Right,
that's king, the king. Oh,
right.
I'm the king. I did nothing.
I'm the Ohio State University. It's like, no, shut up. Um,
Uh-huh.
so Baroness Schrader and Max Detweiler, which is a really great name. They are coming back
I'm
to
okay. I'm not gonna lie, like this whole time I was waiting for Max to be a sympathizer.
yes,
Um
hmm
he's he's very middle of the road, just wants to get on with his life and not be killed in the process, ideally,
right,
which I can understand. I was expecting that hard, I almost said left turn, but that hard right turn into being a sympathizer.
right. Yeah, and sell them out at the last minute. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um, and there's also like the little bit here of like, oh, listen to those nuns singing. Interesting. That's That could be a show on the road. All right. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and
Do you like the drive back though when
yep.
the kids are in the trees? What the hell is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's just some local urchins.
That's right. No big deal. Well, and to make matters worse, when all three of them get back, Captain's just like, where are my children? There's seven of them. Where have they all
Mm-hmm.
gone? And then looking over at the river, hey, we're in a boat. Whoops, we fell over. He's gonna love it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he does not love it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Like it's great.
And we get the interesting scene where the kids are singing. What song are they singing to? Oh, they're singing the Sound of Music, I think, to the Baroness to welcome her.
Yes, they are.
Because the captain is trying to fire Maria, being like, "Look, I have been gone for
Oh, he
literally."
doesn't try. He does. He's like,
Yeah, and
pack
he's
your
like,
bags, GTFO.
"Right, I've been gone for not any time at all, and what are you actually doing here? Like you've broken every single rule. Get out." And then he hears them sing and goes and sings with them, which is a pretty and actually pretty nice scene, and that kind of
Yeah,
softens him up overall, which is a
yes,
nice
because the kids are
transformation.
laughing and smiling and everything else as well. Like it's very much a like he probably hasn't had children laugh in years.
Mm-hmm.
Because like
Yeah.
it's on the one hand he's an a-hole,
Yeah.
right? He is. He's a huge a-hole. But on the other hand, he's also a 30s man whose wife has died. He
Yeah,
has
he's a
seven
widower.
children,
Right.
and and he's a military man to boot.
Yeah.
So the thing he knows what to do is organization, discipline, and military rules.
Right.
And
Right.
this is why these days kids who are growing up in that environment frequently go no contact with their parents as soon as they possibly can.
Right. Excuse me. Um I like that.
Like I don't know, it's this great reveal though that he's got a voice on him too. Like that
Yeah.
when he walks in and he starts to do the singing as well. That's this like fantastic reveal of okay, cool. He can sing too. He
Yeah.
probably used to sing because like the housemaid was like, yeah, we haven't heard music in this house in nigh on 10 years since
Right.
his
Right.
wife died.
Right.
Five
Apologies
years,
also as
whatever.
a quick note here. I'm taking care of my kids solo today. So if there are interruptions, it's usually me muting myself and saying, "Yes, you can go do that," or "No, please, that's going to hurt you." Um, I like in this, as soon as Max hears the kids singing, he's just like, yeah, let's do it. We're going to take the show on the
Uh-huh.
road. They're going to get in the Salzburg Festival. They're going to go around the world. We're going to be rich. It's usually like,
Yep.
I'm going to be rich. I mean, we're going to be, oh, you guys are
I
going to,
mean,
everyone's going to be
the
rich.
fun, the funny thing is, all of the grown-ups know him. They know
Yeah.
who he is. They know the type of person he is because he's in the car saying, "Yeah, I've got to go try and steal that choir for the festival."
Yeah.
And like the captain even says, like, "Yeah, it's so that they can get the fame and you can make all of the money." And he's like, "Yes, you're right. It is terribly unfair. One day I'll make the fame too." And it's
That's
like
right. That's
everyone
right.
knows the type of person he is.
Yeah.
He's the grifter. He's the putting fluoride in the water to make the frogs gay kind of guy.
Right.
Like that's
Right.
exactly what he's doing here.
Right. And the captain is just like, the kids can sing. I just don't want them to do it in public.
In
So
public. Yeah.
that's kind of my one rule. Um, uh, Next scene here, we have a formal party um,
Uh-huh.
at the villa. Actually, sorry. There's one more song in between. There's like a kind of medley of everybody's getting along well together. The Baroness is here. The captain is back. Everyone's kind of this big
I
happy family.
I will say as well as this, when the captain is dealing with the Baroness at first, I wrote the Countess. That's how much I don't like her. I wrote the
Right.
wrong title. Um, when she first arrives back and they're having that huge discussion and everything with the Baroness, he is very charming. Like he
Yeah.
turns off the military man and turns on the charm. It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah, like when they're
now I
sitting
see
around the
it.
table, it's like, all right, yeah, I can see it. All right.
That like yeah, now I can definitely definitely hear it. This is also where Rafflecopter shows up, throwing stones at the window.
Yes.
Yeah, gets interrupted and uses the ultimate in smoke bombs of the Heil Hitler to get out of
Right.
it.
Every time it comes up, every time I watch this movie, I forget about him just busting and doing that. Every time I'm always like, oh, yeah, okay.
It's literally a ninja smoke bomb, like
Yeah, like
distracting
it just,
from everything with a quick Heil Hitler.
oh man, it just like he
It's so
snaps it
rough.
out there, and the captain is just like, oh no, get out,
Like,
give
do
me the
you
message
know
and
me?
get out.
Do you
Jesus,
know me at all? Like,
yeah,
it's ridiculous.
man. Um, I do really like this next song though, "The Lonely Goat Herd." Probably one of my favorite songs
Yes.
out of this, where they're doing the puppetry.
So complicated. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is ridiculous. Like, the performance is complicated, the song is complicated, the whole thing is ridiculously. It's a lot, and I
Yeah,
actually really like it too. Like, it might be my favorite song on the entire movie. Is this
yeah,
one
it's really good.
for the performance and for the music itself.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, the my note here says, "Oh, it's the Goat Head song. I know that one too."
Yep. Um.
And then yeah, the kids vote the Edelweiss song. Like they vote
Yes.
that the next person to sing should be the dad.
Yeah.
Um, who he sings Edelweiss. Never heard of that one before. Pretty
Okay.
solid song. I really like it. And that's when we get the party request because Maria is looking at the captain with like love in the eyes, and
Uh
the
huh.
Baroness has notices it and is like, "You're gonna throw me a party. It's gonna be great.
Right.
You need to throw me this big old party."
And my favorite thing in this movie every once in a while is when she's giving like the doe eyes to the captain, and it will change to a different camera and has that like Vaseline lens where everything's blurry and romantic, and I'm like, oh man, okay, it's really good.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah,
but
this is the party where the kids
yep,
are all outside of the party.
yeah,
I'll do like Liesel, being right on the edge of just should probably be in the party at this point,
right,
but with who her dad is, she's not going to be. So
right,
she's dancing outside by herself, and then her brother takes her through the steps, which I really like. It's
yep,
like the kids seem closer together now than they did at the start, where at the start it
that's
was very
true.
much a let's get whoever is in here out of here.
Hmm.
Whereas now it seems like they're actually supporting each other, which I do like that. Um,
And we do get the captain insulting a Nazi, which is really great. Of the line of like,
yes,
when this when the band strikes up, you're going to be the loudest trumpet. And he's like, wow, you flatter me. And he goes, ah, my mistake, I meant to insult.
yes, yeah,
Which is
because he's
really
throwing around things like what's with the Austrian flag up here? Like this
mm-hmm.
should be the German flag by now.
Right. Yeah, he's like, wouldn't a better flag look better here? And he's like,
Uh-huh.
no,
Yep.
no thanks, I'm okay. um but there's also a conversation here with the Baroness and Maria being like, hey
That's
man,
after the dance because the
oh okay,
captain goes out and sees Maria dancing, or Maria trying to teach the kids to dance. She's
yes, oh
teaching, I
right,
think, the eldest son, and
right,
then the Baron interrupts to take the dance because again, this is really good choreography because when Maria's dancing with the boy, they're doing the right steps, but it's slightly clumsy, it's slightly awkward,
it's a little
and
slow.
it's a really difficult to be deliberately clumsy and deliberately awkward
Yeah,
and have it seem natural. But they
right.
do it. And then he cuts in and he's just like, yeah, let's have this cool little dance scene that the Baroness watches the whole thing of. And Maria's like blushing from head to toe during.
Hmm.
And it's like, gee,
Giving
I
him the puppy
wonder.
dog eyes, yeah.
Uh-huh.
um and we have So Long Farewell, Auf Wiedersehen, good
Yep.
night,
There's
here.
another song I know.
Every time I hear Auf Wiedersehen, I keep thinking of Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which is a great comedy for people like you, Moon, that really hate Russell Brand. That movie,
Oh, yes.
that movie hates
I,
him even more than you do, which is really great.
uh-huh.
Um,
I genuinely hate him. It's great.
yeah. Um, and I think this is probably one of the cutest scenes for the youngest kid, of just being a little too tired at a grown-up party and performing and being
Yes.
carried off to bed. Um,
It's actually the second performance of this in the festival.
mhm,
Spoiler alert. They
right.
perform at the festival despite the dad's intentions not to. It's when I really noticed her choreography and singing issues was there,
Yeah.
because she's just a half a beat out of step with
Right.
everybody. She does the arm motions, but it's like a late start and then a quick finish to try and catch up with it. And then
Hmm.
when she's singing, her mouth movements are just like, I'm supposed,
That's right. I'm supposed to
And
do both of these. Yeah.
it's super cute. But yes, like she kind of steals the show here. The whole razzmatazz
Right.
of this song. I do like the fact that Liesel is the one who comes down and gets her. It's just like,
Yep.
yeah, okay, come on.
Yeah. Come
Like,
on, little buddy.
uh-huh.
And then this leads directly into Maria leaving, fleeing under the cover of party, and
Hmm. Because the
Dasher.
secondary villain of the piece, which is the Baroness,
Right.
she's the secondary villain, 100%, because the
Hmm.
primary villain is Nazis. Um,
Right.
but the secondary villain of the piece does her secondary villain of the piece stuff, and it's like, come on, don't be stupid.
Wouldn't
Like,
you be so much happier at the Abbey? Because he's not going to love you,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And Maria's like, why?
Mhm.
No. Yeah.
And
Um.
we'll get to it, but I think we talked about this I don't know if it was this season or last season, but we'll get to it. I have some thoughts on the Baroness's buggering off, one might say.
Oh, sure.
I have some thoughts on that scene in particular.
Yeah. And this is where the intermission is.
Hmm.
In the home video version, it's not super long for pretty obvious reasons. Um, but we get a second kind of overture medley here once we come back in, and then come back to the Abbey finding out that Maria is not exactly super chatty after her time at at the
Hmm.
the Von Trapp estate.
Well,
Um,
this is like the kids go there because there have been X amount of time since she left,
mhm.
and it doesn't say how long, but it doesn't really matter. But they're playing like the number catch with
Yep,
with the Baroness,
she hates it.
who she hates it.
She
She hates the
all the way
kids.
hates it.
She hates everything about it.
Yep.
And like they are literally like it looks like it's an old school soccer ball. So it is
Hmm.
a leather bound slab of a ball. If you've
Yep.
never like felt one of those balls before, they are like medicine balls. They're so hard.
That's right.
And she just gets it bombed at her time and time again. And it's just like, yeah, number seven. Number
That's
seven.
right. I think I'm done. I'm feeling tired, and all the kids are like, "Oh, thank
Uh-huh.
God."
And
Um.
see, this is what I'm talking about, though. Like, she gets into this conversation with Max here while the kids are like playing in the background,
Mhm.
and she's like, "Oh, I've got a solution to it: boarding school." And it's like, you're the secondary villain. You are
You're
100%.
so terrible.
Uh-huh.
Oh my
Like,
God.
and then yeah, the kids go to the Abbey. She's in solitude. Yada yada yada. She has the heartfelt conversation with um the mother of the Abbey, where I think this is "Climb Every Mountain" is the
Yeah,
song
this
here.
is probably my least favorite song of the whole
Yes.
movie. I think it's fine. It's just it's probably the most operatic of all of
Yes.
them.
It could have done with a version sung by everybody like at the end while they're climbing the literal mountains.
That's right. That's right. Um,
Like, imagine a version of that song sung with like Maria doing the main lead and the kids doing it, like you said, in a
right.
round or as a secondary. Like hmm, it could have done with that, I think. But yeah,
Yeah.
not 10 minutes after the Baroness is talking about sending the kids to boarding school, Maria's back, which I do like the fact that she interrupts them with the Wonderful Things song. Like
Yes.
she overtakes it while they're singing it.
Yep.
Really nice moment.
Hmm.
The interrogation about where they've been all day is pretty solid. Where have you been? Picking berries, thousands of them.
So
More
many
berries.
blueberries. Don't even you can't even know.
I guess you guys don't get no dinner then. And
That's right.
he does that look over the shoulder where he's like, "Yeah, I'm not really gonna do it. They just don't know it yet."
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And like it's literally like 10. It feels like 10, 15 minutes later, and the Baroness and him are having the conversation at night after Maria's back. And he goes to break off the wedding, and then she breaks off the wedding, and she's like, "Oh, this wasn't the life for me." Blah blah blah.
I'm
like,
firing you. You can't do that. I quit.
exactly.
Like, wait,
and like
what?
30 minutes ago, you were talking about sending all of the kids to boarding school. So don't even
Right,
come
and
at
like,
me with this
and
crap.
taking a trip around the world, like,
yeah.
Do
you want a big yacht for the oceans or a little yacht for your bathtub? Is a quality line. I'm not gonna lie.
It's very good. But I kind of like how they get on with it though. Like the breakup happens, and then like the next scene, it's the two of them in the gazebo being like, "I love you, smooch." Like
yes.
They
lots of Vaseline in those scenes.
Right. There's one where it like hard switches from one camera to the another, and it's like, here's a normal shot, and then it's here the love lens. And it's like, oh boy, it's so good. Gosh, what else? And
then they get married, and then hey, the Nazis are here.
Yeah, it's like, it's so wild because it drags for a little bit, and then it's like, broke up, I'm in love with you, we're getting married in like the world's largest and most beautiful cathedral, and then the nuns are singing about Maria.
I was going to say that's also got to be the church that those nuns are attached to, because
it's got to be, yeah.
They are all there, and they're literally singing "Solve a Problem Like Maria," which is and they're all smiling as well, like they're all very clearly happy that their fallen sister has found a better path, kind of thing.
Right.
And yeah, it's like big huge wedding, and then hard cut to buildings with Nazis.
Yeah,
with
hard cut
Nazi
to
flags.
Hey, remember this symbol? And I'm like, oh boy, God, it's 1965, guys. You're just like twisting the knife here, boy.
It's still raw, one might say at that point.
Well, and it's really interesting.
I'm pretty sure at that point, isn't Germany still two countries at that point too? In 65?
Because it was the mid-late 80s?
I think so, when they unified.
Yeah. But it's really interesting because they have that hard cut when they go off to their honeymoon, and then it's a pretty quick thing of Max gets them into the festival.
100%.
And as soon as they find out that Austria has been annexed, then the captain and Maria rush back home. And I still, like, the greatest gif on the internet to live today is when the captain comes home and he sees the flag hang up, and he just takes it down and rips it in half, and just like, hell yeah.
And then I like the fact that he hides it from the kids too. Like, because they all get back in the car as he's doing it, and he's got it bundled up so only the red is showing. And then he passes it behind his back as the kids are going in front of him.
Like gives it to Max.
Really nice little touch.
And I like the little touch of Max being like, that wasn't my call. And it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, he doubts it. Like, he does.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like, I don't know. Is there something monetary in this for you? I'm not entirely sure.
I do like the fact that the kids refer to that, like, because during the audition scene or the rehearsal scene or wherever it is, the kids are all leaving and they're talking about like when the dad's going to be back on the way home. And I think the youngest one says maybe that flag with the spider on it is making people nervous, and it's like, yeah, it is.
It's a really good, it's a really good kid line there. And then we find out that the letter that Rolf had given to the oldest daughter for the captain was them saying like,
this is also when Rolf is showing his true colors. One might say.
Rolf would be like, we'll take care of people like you. And it's like, oh boy, you don't have the armband on yet, but you're getting there, man. Yeah.
And he also says, we make it our business to know as much as everything about everything. And he's like, right. Oh, okay.
Okay. Us, huh? And we? Sure. And when the captain gets it, it's obviously he's being drafted, being voluntold to join the Navy in Germany. And I like
because
that his.
do you know the history of this? He
No.
was so it's semi based on a real story, but obviously lots of embellishments and things along the way. The character and the actual human were actually U-boat captains in the First World War.
Okay.
And were literally one of the most highly decorated captains of his kind.
So Germany is like, you gotta come back, man. Like,
well, you fought for our side in World War One. Now it's time to fight for our side again in World War Two.
And I really love the line from the captain where it's like, declining is fatal, but joining is unthinkable.
Yes.
And that's such a solid line of like, I'm stuck.
It describes it perfectly.
Yep. Like, I'm stuck here in the middle. We have to go. like it's obviously here on our doorstep. We need to go get the kids. We are out of here tonight. Try not to freak them out. And probably my favorite scene in this movie as an adult is this escaping under the cover of darkness scene. And I remembered why I didn't finish this movie as a kid, because as soon as when you're like 10 and you're watching this movie and this scene starts, you're bored. You're bored out of your mind.
Yes.
But as an adult, you're just like
the festival kind of scene is what you're talking about.
Where they're trying to escape and the Nazis stop them
in the car,
and the tension between the two groups of like, what are you doing?
It's the things not said.
And it's like both of them.
Thing you probably miss when you're a kid is you miss
100%.
The veiled threats. You miss the things that they are saying, but by not saying what they're saying, essentially.
And each group knows what the other one is doing without saying. We're like, oh, going for a midnight drive, fantastic. Where might you be going? And he's like, you haven't told me why you're here. And he's like, oh, so funny. I just thought I would see what you're doing, see what you're up to, where you're going. Wouldn't maybe perhaps try to escape? He's like, no, my car works. My car isn't working. And has to turn it on. He's like,
fix the car.
My goodness, of course, I just needed to turn it on. How silly. Anyways, we're on our way. Bye. And this leads directly. Go ahead.
Like that whole tension as well is improved by the fact that, like, whether he wants to admit it or not, Max actually saved the family here. Yes. Because Max has got the program that says the Von Trapp family singers.
Right, and even the dude is like, well, it doesn't mention your name here. That's it, just the children's names. He's like, am I not the head of the Von Trapp family? It's like, all right, yeah, get him. Get those Nazis.
I think you'll find, like you, that I am a man of many hidden talents.
It's really good.
It's such good writing. Like we said, it's like the things said and unsaid, the threats behind the scenes, the fact that as an adult, we understand, as an adult with an understanding of World War II the way we do, we understand exactly what is happening.
And like the threat level here. Saying. I'm like chewing my finger. It's like, what's going to happen?
Because, I mean, he said it in a line, and I do think that line is great. But being adults now, we know that, yes, to refuse is literally fatal for your entire family.
Yeah, it is not an empty threat. And this leads directly into the festival here, where the Von Trapp family performs a couple of songs. We kind of get a reprise of a couple of songs, Do Re Mi, Edelweiss, and then we in this like the biggest. Go ahead.
I do like the fact that he sings Edelweiss, because that feels like an Austrian song, and it feels very much like a middle finger to all of the Germans in the audience.
Long live Austria!
Especially because everybody else sings along at the end.
Yeah, except for like the two Nazis in the front row being like, stupid Austrians.
They even applaud reluctantly at the kids singing.
That's right. And then we get probably Max's greatest moment of like, there's going to be an encore. Wink. And I feel like you largely are hopeful for what's going to come, and the kind of most appropriate song is So Long Farewell Again, where they all kind of sneak off one by one, kind of right in front of them.
I do like the fact that everyone gets more nervous as they go along.
Yes.
Because like the first two kids go, they do a quick glance back. Then the second two kids go, they look back longer and then
Yep.
run earlier. Then when the last three kids go, like it is a very reluctant, like slow walk, long look back, really
Mm-hmm.
hesitating, leaving the parents behind kind of moment.
Yep. And I like the drawing out of like here's third place and here's second place and the Von Trapp family wins, and then the spotlight swings over onto them and they're not there.
They did the Universal theme as well.
That's right. They've escaped. Um, and they escape. I've totally forgot about this scene because in
The
my
crypt
mind
scene.
they escape from the building and then next thing you know they're on the hill, but we get this
Hmm.
whole thing of them escaping in the abbey and being in the kind of crypt area, um,
Yep.
and hiding behind one of the big tombstone things, and
Yes. And
Rolf.
Rafflecopter shows his true colors again. With like again, this is one of those scenes that is just all about the tension. Like they're apologetic to the nuns for having, broken, basically disturbed the nuns' peace and accidentally bringing the Nazis on the church.
Yeah, and they're bringing them into the conflict, which you're not
Mhm.
supposed to do.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, don't you worry about. Look, here is the key to the gate. I've just locked you in. Hide
Right,
behind the crypts, and fingers crossed, everything will be fine."
right.
And then it's a whole tension building scene of like gates rattling and flashlights over crypt things,
Yep.
and it's Lysol's gasp that makes Rafflecopter stop for a second, and
Mm-hmm.
then credit where it's due, he's a smart boy. He
It's the
hides
first smart
behind.
thing he does in this movie.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm totally
Is
going. I'm leaving. Bye. Top. Stop. Stop.
uh
Stop. Stop.
Yeah, and then hides behind the big old thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he spots them, and obviously the kids and everyone gets away. The confrontation between him and Von Trapp, the captain, is really good because he's
Yeah.
trying to pull him back.
Yep.
He's trying to take this blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy under his wings, kind
Yep.
of thing. I think maybe if he wasn't such the captain earlier in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
he may have had enough sway to bring him in here, but because whether you like to admit it or not, he was a bit of an a-hole to him, and the first two
Right.
times he saw him in the movie, that's the delay here.
Well, and the
Um,
line of like, "You're never gonna be one of them," and Rolf is just like, "So what? Seriously? They're over here." It's like, oh, come on,
mhm,
Rolf, you're the worst.
yeah,
And
and
then we
then
get
yeah,
the
they
great
escape
scene
in
of
the
the
car.
nuns. The nuns being like,
Forgive me, mother, I have sinned.
I have sinned. It's just like I love the really loud engine turning over in the background of just like this is pretty good. This is pretty great. If you haven't figured it
Mhm.
out by now, here are some inside parts of a car. But
Yes.
there you go. And then yeah, the final shot of the movie is we are on foot hiking over the Alps, escaping.
You tell me that would have been better with Climb Every Mountain?
I mean, I think so. Be great. It's right there
Like
in the
it
name
would
of
have
the
been
song.
it would have been great to have them, especially because it's a really good motivational track
Hmm.
to find your best life.
Yeah, and
And this
I
is
think
them.
there is some climb every mountain in the orchestra stuff, but I don't think it's
I think so.
as
It,
big and powerful
they
as it was
they
before.
should be singing it. Like they
Yeah,
should be singing it along the way, kind of thing.
right.
It would have been fantastic.
And then that's credits. That's the end of
Uh-huh.
the movie. Um,
You don't know if
so
they made it or not. They
yep,
probably did.
probably did.
Um,
Yeah.
um,
Uh,
I- so here's a fun fact for you. Like I said, it's loosely based on a real life family.
yeah. So
Um,
if anyone doesn't know the history of this, it was a book by the Von Trapps that got turned into stage play, that got turned into a movie, and this movie was based on the previous movie. So it's kind of like 3 degrees of separation from the original
yes,
tale, which is fine. It's a real like Disney move.
yes. And the book is actually a memoir written by Maria von Trapp.
Yep.
Um, they did escape Nazi Germany. They actually went to Italy and then emigrated from Italy to America
Oh,
because
okay.
they had the rights to an Italian citizenship because of where the Baron was the captain was born, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a genuinely a nice little ending. Like
Yeah.
I do like the walking over the Alps kind of moment is really solid.
Yes.
It's obviously BS But you know, whatever.
Right.
It's a movie. Like,
Yeah.
let your things slip down from it. What do we have ratings wise, Boston?
Yeah, I'm pulling them up here. IMDb of 244,000 ratings, an 8.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes here, 84% tomato meter, 91%. So 73 reviews for tomato meter, 250,000, over 250,000 ratings here at 91%. And Letterboxd has this 6.1 ratings, 4.0 out of 10.
A 4.0 out of 10 or a 5?
Or out of 5, sorry.
I was going to say, that might be a little low.
One of the most famous. It's garbage. I wouldn't put it past Letterboxd, truthfully. I feel like that's fair. I feel like it's kind of an uneven movie, especially for how long it is. But man, it's like you said. Like,
think, though, this is the 60s. Like, it has a special dedication at the beginning to the color was made by blank company that tells you how
presented you by in Technicolor. It's like, wow, yeah, okay, goodness. But like, you could see this being kind of an event movie. You know, like you get maybe a little bit dressed up. You go to the theater for probably 5 hours, depending on how long the intermission is going to be, and then you kind of like make a day out of it. So, you know, I could see this being pretty popular for that reason.
Yeah, and all in all, it's a solid movie, and it's got for good reason. It has some of the most famous songs that exist when it comes to music in movies.
Like, you knew, I think, all but maybe 2 songs out of this movie.
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3. I didn't know. Everything else I'd heard before. I didn't know they were from this, but I'd heard before.
Yeah, it's so good. That's easily my favorite. I'm glad I watched this again. It's probably been maybe like 20 years or so since I've last sat down to actually watch this, other than like, I watched an hour of the beginning of it, and it's 3 hours long. I'm not finishing this thing.
Yes.
But I think like the tension in that last act was way better than I remember it being. Yeah, and I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to, which I was kind of dreading it because of its length. But like you said, like, every song is great. All the choreography is great. Every actor is great. Like, every part of this movie is outstanding in a way that it is a classic for a reason, and it still really holds up. And Nazis can still go to hell, sadly, in 2023. Yes.
More relevant than ever. Spoiler alert.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Like, I think I'm with you. Like, all in all, it's a solid all-around movie. Like, it feels dated, but not surprisingly not as dated as it is. Because we can watch movies from the 90s that feel so much more dated than this. Like,
like a bunch of stuff in the 80s and 90s was like, you cannot say that word anymore. You haven't been able to say that word for 30 years. Yikes. Goodness.
You were pushing the limits when you put that in the movie in the first place, folks.
That's right. That's a good point. Yeah.
Like, but no, I mean, it's a classic for a reason. I mean, honestly, I'm probably sitting at anywhere between 7.5 to 8.5, depending on the vibe check in the room. I was not helped by the fact that I had to watch half of this movie with an astonishing migraine.
That's always going to help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially with musicals, when you want to listen to the music nice and loud so you can get the music and the lyrics, and then instead you just like, no, every cymbal crash is a dagger to my skull.
That's right.
I don't know. It's a solid movie, like 7.5 to 8.5, depending on my mood.
I'm there with you. All right, let's do the last thing for this season.
Yeah.
And let's do our rankings. This one was tough. I haven't even thought about this, but I'm pretty sure I'll know where it's going to go. Yeah.
So, do we want to get number 5 out the way first?
Yeah.
And just agree it's La La Land?
It's La La Land. That was didn't do it for us, not doing it for us. If, like we said in the episode, if you love it, great. We did not.
Yes.
Moon, what's your number 4?
It's Little Shop of Horrors.
Okay.
Like, it's a good movie. The cinematography and animatronics and puppetry and stuff they've got is insanely good. It is insanely good. but at the same
Good.
time, it is just. I think it's just slight. It's great, but it's not on the level of the rest of this stuff.
Yeah. That's also my number four. I feel like the first two are tied and three and four are tied. So like it's kind of a tough one, but
Uh-huh.
Little Shop is really great. I think it's I, I I think I liked it maybe a little bit less than I did when I watched it before, but like you said, it's still really great. It's another classic. Like it's one of those ones that's like, yep, I get it. I see why that
Hey,
is.
I made it through a movie where half of the story is about dentists, so that tells you
That's
how good it is.
that's true. That's true. What's your number
You know,
three?
you saying what you just said about your one and two and three and four, by the way, just made me realize that basically our list is going to be almost identical because my number
Probably.
three is Repo, the Genetic Opera.
That is also my number three. Yes.
It's a like let's just like, we said it in the episode. It is a bad movie,
Yep.
but it goes for it.
It is a passion project to a T. Like
Uh-huh.
it is. They had a vision, they had a dream, and they put it on film, and it's bad, and I love it.
And I've still got that Zydrate song stuck in my head.
Surgery, surgery.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a great bad movie. I love it. What's your
Uh-huh.
number two?
This is the tough one.
Uh huh.
This is the genuinely tough one. Um, I think it just clicked with me. It was this season we were talking about trying to redeem an irredeemable character. They tried that in Sound of Music with the Baroness.
Right.
They 100% tried that with Phantom.
Yep.
That's why Phantom is number two.
Okay.
It's close. It's close.
It's not my number two, but it could be.
Yes. That is probably the reason why it's my number two, is that whole 20-30 minutes spent trying to redeem the irredeemable. Like,
He's just misunderstood, Moon. He killed
no,
all those
he's
people
not.
because they talked bad about him in his theater
Now
he's been
you
haunting.
GTFO.
That's,
Like
that's right.
he
Won't
spent
you
too
give
long
this
sitting in the
murderer a
basement.
chance?
The Phantom needs to go touch grass and then realize
That's
how
right.
much of a monster he
That's
is.
right. That's
Like,
right.
that's the truth of the situation.
Yep.
If it wasn't for the attempt to redeem him, this
Yeah.
would be number one. Easy, by a mile, it would be
Yep.
number one for me. It's that whole. He drugged and potentially did things to a really close to underage, if not underage person. Like,
Yeah.
it's.
It's all from a story perspective, it's all bad.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Don't. The music is better, is the best of the season, I would argue, is the music in Phantom. But it's just that whole thing of like, oh, he was just a misunderstood pet. No,
That's right.
no.
He's
He's
he killed
Frankenstein
people musical.
and the monster. He's
Yeah.
both.
Right. Right.
That's the only reason why it's number two.
Yeah, I put the Sound of Music as mine number two, largely because of the main title track of Phantom is still stuck in my head after however many weeks it's been like 10 weeks or something since we did that, and it's still dun 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 dun. Like it's just
Yes.
I 100% agree with you. That storyline is problematic in nearly every facet.
Uh-huh.
But man, it has a hell of a soundtrack, and
It's got the best soundtrack of all of these movies, easy.
and that's why I put it at number one, because I thought, well, in a musical season, I'll put Phantom at number one because I think it has the best music, but like it and the Sound of Music are right there next to each other for not only classic kind of timelessness of each other, but just both of these musicals have an incredible soundtrack from start to finish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I get it. I
Yeah.
100% get it. Like, I do think the music is it's so good in Phantom. I mean, Masquerade is one of the best songs I've heard. Period.
Love it.
The performance is so good on that as well. That's
Yeah.
what makes that one so special.
Yeah.
Yeah, my number one is Sound of Music only because it doesn't try and redeem the Nazis.
Also, big props to them for, I know it's like a recency sort of thing, but also good of them to not have like a both sides thing. We're just like, no, they're bad. They were bad. They are bad. They're the worst.
Yeah.
They're history's greatest villain for a reason. If he could have punched Rolf, he would have. Like,
yeah,
you should punch Rolf. He's the worst.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sound of Music is again, legendary music, not my preferred music in Sound of Music. Like, that's the biggest difference is Phantom's music style probably clicks with me a little bit better.
Yeah.
But Sound of Music probably has just as much legendary tracks in it, whether you want to admit it or not. Like the music in Sound of Music, I knew all of them except for like 2. That should tell you everything you need to know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, Phantom is the best music overall. Just that whole ending sequence is just like, guys.
Sound of Music has just like the best overall package, I think.
Yes, I would say.
Yeah. All right, well, as our wildly successful second season of musicals, I'm sure if I were to look at our spreadsheet, we probably have at least 2 more seasons of musicals to go that we will revisit in the future. Reminder that in between seasons, over on the Patreon page at patreon.com/E1M1.
Those ones are numbers, by the way.
We have the exclusive production meeting at the $5 tier or higher. This is where Moon and I kind of talk about what's in the list, what we're adding, what we're removing, kind of theme ideas, psychic damage that we're doing to each other. Reminder, it is uncensored, so keep that in mind for...
We get sweary.
Yeah, keep that in mind for some of these production meetings especially. But that's always...
The key rule there is, if you wouldn't play a video game created by sweary in front of your kids, don't listen to a production meeting assisted by sweary
exactly.
in front of your kids.
Right. So go listen to that. They're always really good. They're usually about an hour long. We try and keep them short, keep them at an hour. And we'll talk about additional themes. And we are going to be doing something a little bit different for next season. So we hope you'll join us. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.